Future people count. There could be a lot of them. We could make their lives go better. The idea that positively influencing the long-term future is a key moral priority of our time. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you're new to this channel, I'm Lydia, a banker who works and lives in London. Usually I just use this channel to share some of the things that I used to change my lifestyle in the past several years by building a healthy routine, by going to the gym, and by reading more books. And today is my favorite segment, book club series. Recently I just finished reading this book, What We Owe the Future. This is one of the books that is in the topic these days. I've seen it everywhere in the subway, and multiple friends has talked to me about this book. So this book is about long-termism. 3 sentences you can summarize long-termism. Future people count. There could be a lot of them. We could make their lives go better. And that's the basic idea about long-termism. So the author of this book is MacAskill. He is an associate professor in philosophy in University of Oxford. By the time of his appointment, he was the youngest associate professor of philosophy in the world. That's when he was 28. He has been on a lot of shows that I love. The podcast, so the Yasser Klein's show, the Tim Ferriss show, and also Ali Abdaal. They've all interviewed them from different angles, and today I just want to share this book with you because it has solidified some of my beliefs and also changed the ways that I think how I can make an impact. The book is about long-termism. The idea that positively influencing the long-term future is a key moral priority of our time. MacAskill first tells us what's a long-term view. How can the trajectory of humanity become depending on how we behave, what could happen that will lead the civilization to end, whether the future will be good or bad. Finally, he proposed some very practical ways that he think we can do to make the future better. Everybody should just grab a book from the bookstore. It's only 200 something pages and it's far more compelling and easy to read than I thought. I thought it's a philosophical book. I wouldn't want to touch too much details here. So in this video, I just want to share 3 things that how this book has changed how I think. And let's go. So the first thing is, it has convinced me how important the time we're living right now. MacAskill starts the book in such a compelling way that he used very visual ways to show that if human species, if we can survive until say 50 million years, for the 10% of chance if we survive until the inhabitable end of the earth, which is 500 million years. As he showed in this graph, like we're still at this very beginning. There are 99.5% of the future people hasn't been born yet. He presented that each one of the figures represents 10 billion people, and it's rounded up to 10 billion as the day and age now we are living now. All these are the people who has ever lived before us. The rest of the page are all these billions of people that will be born after us, and these are not the full version. The full version will fill 20,000 pages. As the author said in the book, because there are so many people that hasn't been born yet, we are just like a teenager who doesn't know how our behavior will change the whole trajectory of our own life. The way that humanity and the society behaves and to take different trajectories will have a huge impact in all of those lives that will be born after us. And now you might ask that, but so what, right? Those people, they were born in the far future and we wouldn't know them. MacAskill argues that distance, no matter whether it's in time or it's physical distance, it should be the same importance. If we care of the people's well-being that's lived in the same day and age as we do, even if they're on the other parts of the world, we should care the same about the people that's far distance into the future as well. I know it's still a little bit difficult. I would like to think that it actually makes common sense. Like a popular proverb says, a society grows great when old men plant trees under whose shade he will never sit. So if you think of it like that, we just compress those thousands, millions of years into a few generations. The same way that you're going to do good for the next generation, next few generations, next hundreds of years, the same way we should be able to convince ourselves we should do good for the next thousands or millions of years. And that's the way I have convinced myself. And also he introduced this idea that we live in a very important and rapidly changed time in the history. Think about how many changes has ever taken place after 1840, the Industrial Revolution. Not to even to mention now how much of rapid technological, social, and environmental changes that we are experiencing and the rates that's happening. It wouldn't happen at the same rates going forward. At some point it will slow down, which gives us way more importance in the history that whatever we do, it might impact the future more than we think. So that gives an as an extra layer of importance. And then he introduced this idea of plasticity. So if you're trying to make glass before it actually cools down and becomes its own shape, you can shape it into different shapes. And this is sort of similar to what kind of time that we live in now. Depending on how we behave and what kind of trajectory the society is taking, we can actually shape the future into different shape of form. That's because the society still hasn't settled into a stable state. We're actually living in a very, very important point in time in history. Whatever we do will make future people's life is either better or worse. And so the second idea is our world has changed really for the better, and we can make it even better for the future as well. I thought this book would be a lot of like doomsday scenarios, like how we're gonna end up just killing ourselves in the next 50 to 100 years or something like that. But it's actually a very inspiring and optimistic book. I think it has listed a lot of day-to-day changes and a lot of the stuff that we take for granted, like how we can live in the building, how we can have running water, how we can just use technology that it's just not possible hundreds of years ago, even if you're a king or a queen. It also has elaborated a lot of good examples that in the past, a lot of people, they're just normal day-to-day people, but they have tried to make changes. The second part of the book has taken us to a journey of how historical moral changes happen. There's a chapter devoted to how the abolitionist movement happened and eventually slavery has been abandoned across the globe. A lot of things we have taken for granted today is actually just very difficult things for the people in the past. So one way or another, technology changes how the society and the world has become nowadays. It's because the people in the past has done something right to make our life better. And I think this book has conveyed this idea that we can do the same thing for the people in the future that hasn't been born yet. Tens of billions of people, even trillions of them, and we can really do something about it. And the final idea is how can we really act, how to do good. Eventually, after the whole journey of how to open our mind to this whole idea of Lontermism and how to view the world and the whole civilization as just one simple idea that we can all contribute to. What I love this book is that it has provided a lot of practical frameworks, actions that we can take as normal day-to-day people individually, how to think and to act more importantly. For young people who like us, part 5 is all about taking action. Chapter 10 of this book, What to Do, it has step-by-step guidance. What kind of topics, what kind of areas that we can devote ourselves to in our day-to-day and in our career or in our life. Especially for young people, the author himself has provided a lot of practical guidance on how to choose a career, which I think is the most important part for any people who wanted to really think hard for their career. He has provided this framework called Learn, Build Options, and Do Good model, a basic idea of how you can choose your career. Page 235, if we want to jump through straight to this point. It's about find low-cost ways to do like trial and error to see what you're really interested in, and then building transferable skills and be ready to be able to pivot other career choices if you really want to. Finally is using your career capital to actually make some influence. For my own case, I started my career in financial industry several years ago. I didn't immediately find my fit, and later I has switched to different roles, and finally now I work in an area I think I can just say that I've never been so sure about my career ever before. But it took me years to get to my point. It would be so nice if somebody like MacAskill's and his organization 80,000 hours were there when I really want to find my own fit. So if you want to know more about the author and the organization, he's created 80,000 hours, which is a non-profit that aims to help young people find an impactful career that does good too. Their stuff is entirely free. I have signed up for their newsletter, and they also send out job postings every week. I think it's all in very interesting, impactful careers. The reason why they call this 80,000 hours is because we have 40 hours per week, 50 weeks per year, 40 years to work. For our whole career, it's rounded to 80,000 hours, and that's the reason why he created this. Compared to the time that we put into our career for our entire life, the time that we spend spent to decide what we do for our career is just like so trivial compared to 80,000 hours. So I would recommend any young people, if you want to have somebody who can guide you through, you can definitely go to their website to sign up for their newsletter. I will also put a link down below. The author Will MacAskill in the final chapter of this book, and that's the main reason why I'm doing this video, is spreading these ideas can be enormously powerful way of having an impact. Suppose that you convince just one other person to do as much good as you otherwise would have done in your life. Well, then you've done your life's work. Convince 2 other people and you've tripled your impact. This is what I'm currently doing. I don't know how many people will watch this video, but I really hope that you will like this video, and no matter what your takeaway is, if it's gonna help your life, if you can just spread the idea of everybody can do our own part to make the future better, because making the future better is definitely gonna make the current day better as well. So if this video has only convinced one another person, I think it has served the purpose. And finally, I want to end it with one sentence that Will MacAskill ended his book is, because if not you, who? And if not now, when? I will see you next time.